Hello viewers, welcome to the series on convolutional neural network. In this session we will discuss in detail about neural network architecture. It's very important to understand the neural network architecture before we jump into the hands-on session. So before we start coding our image recognition neural network, let's understand out how it will work. This is the most basic neural network design. Here we feed in an image, it passes through one or more dense layer and then it returns an output. But this kind of design doesn't work efficiently for images because objects can appear in lots of different places in an image. The solution is to add one or more convolutional layers to our neural network. These layers will help us detect patterns no matter where they appear in our image. It can be effective to put two or more convolutional layers in a row. So in this design we can see that with two convolutional layers and a dense layer, this would work for very simple images. But there are some tricks that we can add to our neural network to make it more efficient. The convolutional layers are looking for patterns in our image and recording whether or not they found those patterns in each part of our image. But we don't usually need to know exactly where in an image a pattern was found, particularly to the specific pixel. It's good enough to know the rough location of where it was found. To solve this problem, we can use a technique called max pooling. Let's look at an example. Imagine that this grid is the output of convolutional filter that ran over small part of our image. It's trying to detect a particular pattern and these numbers represent whether or not that pattern was found in the corresponding part of the image. Let's assume that this is the filter is looking for patterns that looks like clouds. A 0 in the grid means that the pattern wasn't found at all and a 1 means that the area was a strong match for the pattern. We could pass this information directly to the next layer in our neural network, but if we can reduce the amount of information that we pass to the next layer, it will make the neural network's job easier. So the idea of max pooling is to downsample the data by only passing on the most important bits. It works like this. First, we divide this grid into 2 by 2 squares. Then within each 2 by 2 square, we will find the largest number. If there's a tie, we will just grab the first one. And then finally, we will create a new array that only saves the numbers that we selected. The idea is that we are still capturing roughly where each pattern was found in our image, but we are doing it with 1/4 as much of the same data. We will get nearly the same end result, but there will be a lot less work for the computer to do in the following layer of the neural network. We have another trick that we can use to make our neural network work more robust. It's called dropout. One of the problems with neural network is that they tend to memorize the input data instead of actually learning how to tell different objects apart. We need to prevent this. There's a simple way that we can force the neural network to try really hard to learn within just memorizing its training data. The idea is that we will add a dropout layer between other layers that will randomly throw away some of the data passing through it by cutting some of the connections in the neural network. By randomly cutting different connections with each training image, the neural network is forced to try harder to learn. It has to learn multiple ways to represent the same ideas. This is because it can't depend on any particular signal always flowing through the neural network. It's called dropout because we are just letting some of the data drop out of the network randomly. We have four different kinds of layers in this neural network. The convolutional layer adds translation invariance, the max pooling layer downsamples the data, and dropout forces the neural network to learn in more robust way. And then finally, the dense layer maps the output of the previous layer to the output layer so we can predict which class the image belongs to. The first three layers work really well together, so we put them together into a block and call the whole thing a convolutional block. If we want to make our neural network more powerful and able to recognize more complex images, we can add more layers to it. But instead of just adding layers randomly, we add more copies of our convolutional block. When all these layers are working together, we will be able to detect complex objects like cars, aeroplanes, automobiles, etc. So this is a very typical design for an image recognition neural network. I hope this video proved fruitful to you and hope you have gained something extra than what you were knowing earlier. Thank you.